All right. We are live. Thank you guys for bearing with us through that little countdown. Gave us a little chance to get everything set up tonight, doing some little behind the scenes work while they had countdown. So appreciate the patience. I am joined tonight by my friend Aaron Simmons, aka Simoleons, and we are flying as a duo tonight. Our normal third member, Zach, is feeling under the weather, so hope he feels better soon. But Aaron, man, just you and I tonight. The lunatics are running the asylum.
Oh, Lordy, what have they done? But yeah, awesome guys, and thank y'all so much for coming out tonight. We've got a great show for you tonight. Lots to go over, especially in the Cup Series. Of course, big news breaking out tonight, which we will cover. And so, Tom, you want to take it away along with the race reviews?
Sure. I will start off talking about the SRX series, and I have become a huge fan of this. But the SRX series was the final race of the season. It was at the Nashville Fairgrounds. Special guest drivers this week were Hailie Deegan and Chase Elliott. So we got to see Chase Elliott racing against his dad in the SRX series. And let me tell you, Tony Stewart, it seems like he just knows how to put on a show, and he did not disappoint at all. He came out there, and first thing that happened was he needed to score 12 points between the heat races and the feature to clinch the championship. So in this short 6-race season, he clinched the championship. So congratulations to him for winning the championship. He won it in his own series, but he did earn it. He raced hard and raced well just about every week. But we saw Chase Elliott and Bill Elliott going head to head. And I mean, they went head to head. It was awesome. Tony Stewart did what I thought was a real class move. He was supposed to start front row. Bill Elliott was supposed to start second. They did a draw for it, or in the second row. Tony Stewart volunteered to swap spots so that at the beginning of the race, Chase Elliott, Bill Elliott could be side by side on the front row to start. Those two battled it out. And let me tell you something. Bill Elliott hadn't done anything all season. 5 races. I don't think he's cracked the top 5. But let me tell you, put his son out there on a track where he thinks he's got something to prove, and Bill Elliott turned it up. He, I think, wound up finishing 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. And Bill, I mean, I've not seen Bill that aggressive since he was driving the Coors number 9 Thunderbird. But they put on a show. Those two battled up front all night. Chase Elliott came away with the win. But I think that it was just a tremendous race. It was a great show. I'm sure Chase Elliott and Bill Elliott, it is memories that they are going to talk about and share till Chase is probably Bill's age. But hats off to Tony for a great show. A great season. I really think this SRX thing is going to be something we're going to be hearing a lot more about in the future. And man, before we go on, man, we got all kinds of people. We got Track Slayer, I believe, has been here before. Dylan Smith is in. Boss Jones, Stevie Throop, Mr. Optic Goblin. Man, we got some viewers. We got some comments. Thank you guys all for tuning in. But Aaron, do you have anything to add about the SRX, or do you want to jump into the Cup review?
I don't really have much to add. Sadly, I did not catch most of the inaugural SRX season. I just got things going on Saturday night, and unfortunately, I was able to not really catch most of the races. But man, I am really excited for next season if they haven't already announced it. But I'm excited for next season. I will watch next season.
Oh, let me just talk about this SRX for a minute, because since we don't have Zach here, we get a little more screen time. Okay, this SRX series is a completely different model of how you do a race. And if what attracts people to races is drivers and competition, I think they've got something here, because you think about this, if you compare the different models, okay, in NASCAR, you have to find a sponsor, and you or an owner has to foot the bill. In SRX, Tony Stewart, the series, is providing the sponsors for each car, and they are basically building the cars and constructing them for you. So as a driver, you get to just show up and drive. In NASCAR, you have to try to not just get a ride, but get a ride with a competitive team and hope that each and every week your team can prepare a car that's competitive. SRX, the cars are equal. They're all built the same. So you just show up and drive and let your driving ability and talent dictate how you finish. Okay. I know he has started this with some big names that are kind of in retirement, but I think he has got the opportunity to really build on this. I think he can attract some big name drivers because he's taken away all the hassles that you deal with as a driver. You don't have to promote sponsors. You don't have to find a competitive ride. You don't have to worry about getting beat by superior equipment. He has made this as pure, just pure all-out competition on an equal footing as much as you can. I think he's got a great thing here. And I know we're spending a lot of time on this, and we got a ton of great NASCAR stuff to talk about. But let me tell you, two names that I think are going to come out of this series that you need to keep your eye on. One is Ernie Francis Jr., who ran well about every shape and every type of track, whether it was asphalt or dirt. And I didn't know who the guy was. Young guy, but apparently he is already a 7-time Trans Am Series champion. I think he got a lot of people's attentions. So I think that Ernie Francis Jr. is a name that's going to be coming out of this. Okay. The other one is they always have a local hero, and they had a kid, and I hope I don't get the name right, Luke Fenhaus. I think it's Fenhaus. Out of the, I think he raced at a track outside of Milwaukee. He absolutely took these guys to school for 149 out of the 150 laps. 17-year-old kid, hasn't even started his senior year in high school yet. I think he caught some attention. I think those are the two names that are going to be coming out of this. And somebody said in here, Paul Tracy, Stevie Throop says, Paul Tracy can't drive a hot nail through a snowman's ass. I'll tell you what he can do, Stevie. He can hit everything but the pace car, and somehow they only have 11 other drivers, but I think he managed to piss off 15 people, because I'm sure the crew chiefs who had to rebuild all the cars he tore up were pissed off too. But yeah, Paul Tracy, I guess if you need a villain, he can fill the role. I am hoping that he is out of there and they get somebody who can drive without hitting everything. I will say, though, that I was not a big Hailie Deegan fan till I saw her hand out some payback to Paul Tracy that was much deserved. And when I saw that, I said, go Hailie. So,
absolutely. And anyway, from what I've heard about Paul Tracy, it sounds like he can run his mouth better than he can run his cars.
I would say so. Yeah. So anyway, let's move on, because I have spent probably more time we should on SRX. Let's get to the main event. Tell us about the Cup race Sunday afternoon.
Oh, Lord, where do we start? Well, I guess we'll start at the beginning.
We start in the rain. That's how we start.
Yes. According to NASCAR, that's how you start a race. In the rain on slicks. Now, for those of you who were here last week, and remember when I said that the dumbest call NASCAR's made this season was penalizing a driver under green when they had 6 minutes or 6 laps to tell the truck to get in there and fix some damage. That was the worst call this season so far. Ladies and gentlemen, NASCAR took that personally and said, hold my beer. Because NASCAR, on lap 6, when it was still missing out and every single driver was complaining that there was rain on the way and raining on the track, they said, looks fine to me. Let's just go ahead and run it. And by lap 6, you had top contenders already crash their cars. Kyle Busch, the potential winner of that race, out by lap 6. Martin Truex Jr. had tons of damage to his car. Absolutely managed to try and finish in 12th place after that. Got Danny Hamlin spun. You had damage to Alex Bowman. You had damage to Ross Chastain. No top names that already had damage by lap 6. And so already they were protesting. Kyle Busch, he was obviously pissed, and really he had reason to, because that was a completely stupid call based on NASCAR's part. They should have never thrown the green flag when they should. And so I will say that is the dumbest call so far because they have a tendency to one-up themselves. However, due to all of that, they finally got the track cleared off after about 2 hours. They were able to run the race without much debate right up until the end where it's starting to get dark and New Hampshire does not have any lights. But in the end, it was a guy that you would not think of getting Stewart-Haas Racing their first win of the season, and it was Eric Almirola, the guy who could not catch a break all season. Finally came through and got a win, and it was earned, absolutely well earned by Eric Almirola, and that will shake up and that just absolutely shakes up the playoffs. To where you have the 2 Richard Childress cars, the 8 and the 3, separated by measly 5 points. I would not be Richard Childress right now. I do not envy that man whatsoever right now.
I'll tell you what, though, that race, it's one thing when you watch somebody outdrive their equipment and they're a 20th place car and they drive it to a 10th or a 12th place finish, okay? It is something else when you see somebody outdrive their equipment and put it in victory lane. And to me, that's what Almirola did. I mean, let's face it, Stewart-Haas they haven't even been able to sniff victory lane this year. To me, he absolutely outdrove his equipment. He drove the wheels off that thing, and I don't think he had the best car, but he absolutely had the most desire, drove the wheels off of it, and put that thing in victory lane. I was so impressed with how Almirola was able to pull that off. Much more impressed with him than I was the NASCAR officiating.
Actually, I'm pretty sure everyone would agree that they were a Paul Tracy fan more than NASCAR fan that day.
Yeah, they were more of a Paul Tracy fan than a fan of NASCAR officiating. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, so happy for Almirola. God, that guy deserves something this season. He finally got it.
Yeah. So Boss Jones makes an interesting comment here. Said, we may see more parity like this next year with the next gen car. So maybe there's a little bit of a parallel between Tony's SRX series and this next gen car that's going to make it easier for the smaller teams to compete. And we might see more parity, which, as much as we talk about, there's the mega teams, such as the Stewart, well, I shouldn't say Stewart-Haas this year, but the Gibbs and the Hendrick and everything in the Penske. But man, we've had a lot of different winners. We get any more parity next year, and it's absolutely going to be win to get in that you won't be able to point your way in.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking right now. I mean, it is entirely possible that the entire chase field may have to get 2 wins just to stay in.
Yeah, you might see, especially if we get any more parity with this next gen car, you might see somebody that's a race winner not make it in. So it could be very interesting. But let's talk about the Xfinity race for a minute. And the Xfinity race was Christopher Bell went out there, and from the drop of the green to the drop of the checkered, had the fastest car, proved it, drove away. Didn't matter if it was a short run, a long run. Didn't matter if they were changing track conditions. Absolutely just proved he had the best car and drove away with the race. And it was great for me to watch because this is Christopher Bell. He's done really well at New Hampshire, but hasn't done tremendous amounts in the Cup Series. But it is only his second year. He's been hampered by the lack of practice. I'm not being down on the guy, but it was great to see him get a chance to visit victory lane because he really hasn't had a chance to do that since he left the Xfinity Series. And he really proved that when he has good equipment and is there, he can make it work. Okay. And I was thrilled to see it, but I also got to say it's a compare and contrast that if you're a young up-and-coming guy who hasn't visited victory lane much, the fans love to see you go out and just run a race, prove you're the fastest guy, and get into victory lane. It's great to see a young guy establish himself. If you took that 54 car, had the exact same scenario, and put Kyle Busch in it, nobody would wanted to see it. They would have all been saying he's won 100 races. Nobody wants to see him go out and whip the field like that. But when it's a young up-and-comer like Christopher Bell, it was great to see. And let's face it, New Hampshire is his track. I think that is his 3rd straight Xfinity win there. So he is, as Darrell Waltrip used to say, he's got that joint figured out. So
it certainly does sound like it, and especially in New Hampshire. That's a tough little track. It may seem very easy, just kind of just go in, kind of on the second line with a little more banking and go down there. But as we saw during the Xfinity and the Cup race, people were utilizing different lines and different, angle points and exit points, trying to make up ground and speed and grip. And it just seemed like during the Xfinity race, Christopher Bell was just, okay, you can try anything you want to. I'm going to go here and I'm going to win the race.
Yeah. Oh, and Dylan Smith reminding me it's 102, not 100. Hey, what's 2 victories among friends? I'm rounding. I'm trying to not give him any more credit. I'm rounding to the nearest 100.
Yeah, well, we all know he is the Xfinity Series version of Richard Petty. We all know that. It's just who cares at this point? Who cares?
Yeah. All right. So moving on, you got some news stories to share with us, Simoleons.
Absolutely, and let's go ahead and start with the news that dropped today. Brad Keselowski moves to Roush Fenway Racing. Is now double confirmed. Is pretty much already confirmed a few weeks ago that he was going to be moving out. But the new news that came out was that he's going to replace Ryan Newman in the number 6 car. In 2022, he will honor his contract with Penske throughout this year, but at the start of next year, he'll be in the number 6 car, pretty much kicking Ryan Newman out. And now Ryan Newman may be adding his name to the free agency. So, Tom, what do you make of this?
This was kind of the worst kept secret in NASCAR.
We
all knew that he was going. I don't think it was 100% confirmed that he was taking over the 6, but I think we knew it was going. I think it's a good move for Roush because it gets you a big name driver still in his prime, capable of winning races. I'm not sure it's a good move for Keselowski. I think maybe it sets him up to eventually take over when Jack Roush wants to step away from ownership, and we've talked about that on other episodes. But I think there's no doubt right now Keselowski is going to be downgraded in the equipment that he's driving week to week. I mean, maybe he thinks he's a good enough driver to overcome it. Maybe he thinks he can help bring the Roush equipment up to par. But I think it's a big downgrade. But I got to tell you, I think this was as much driven by what makes Brad happy as it was by financial reasons or competitive equipment. I don't think he's been happy at Penske. I think this has been brewing for a while, and it started last year when he decided to only sign a 1-year extension. I think it became more evident when we had the last lap of the Daytona 500 when he and Joey Logano got into it, and there were some harsh words and there were some not speaking afterwards. So I think this has a lot to do with Brad just wanting to go someplace where he can enjoy racing and enjoy the people he is around as much as it's driven by the equipment he's in and the financial aspects of it. But that's my take on it. What's your take on it, Simoleons?
I kind of agree. I kind of think Brad is looking for a change of scenery, especially with Roush, who they desperately need some sort of spark in that organization. They have been competitive, and it seems like really since 2016, 2017, somewhere around there. So it's been about 4 or 5 years since they've been last somewhat competitive. And so I really think the addition of Brad Keselowski to Roush is a great move for Roush's part, because they do get a prime driver, an experienced driver, and really a driver who can bring in a lot of new ideas, a driver who can bring in a lot of, hey, let's try something this way. Let's try going this direction. I mean, he has ownership experience. He's got, of course, driving experience, being a former NASCAR champion. But, yeah, I really do agree. I think he's going into a downgrade, especially with Roush. They just don't have the spark they used to, but hopefully he'll turn that team around, and hopefully they will be competitive and kind of get back up to more of a 5th to 10th place team, kind of where they really should be right now, instead of like a 15th, 20th place team where they are.
Okay, so now let's talk about some of these comments we've got in here, because I think some of these are really interesting. Alpha Work 503 says Newman full-time in SRX Inc. I got to say, I had not considered that possibility, but I think a couple of things about that. One is I think he would be a great fit for that series. He is fresh out of NASCAR, so he's not like the 65-year-old Bill Elliott. He's a very popular driver, so it would help the crowds. He's got certainly a lot of gas left in the tank relative to the other SRX guys, so that is all good. I am not sure about this. There's a question mark by the next statement. He used to drive for Tony Stewart, and I thought Tony Stewart kind of basically fired him. So Tony Stewart's got 12 rides right now, and he can kind of pick and choose who he likes to let in. I'm not sure what the Newman-Stewart relationship is like. I'm not sure if they are friends right now. I'm not sure if that kind of went away when Tony Stewart kind of fired him and showed him the door. If there is still a relationship there, I think that's a great move. I think Newman would have a ball doing it, and I think it would be great for the SRX series. But I think that series is in a lot of ways Tony Stewart and friends, and I'm not sure whether they are friends or not. I really don't know. There was another comment here. Wanted to share. Traxler saying they're all going to have the same car next year, so it won't be a downgrade of equipment. I'm not sure it's going to be the same. I think they'll be closer, but I'm not sure it's going to be the same. Stevie Throop kind of saying the same thing. Not going to be a big downgrade. Time will tell. We'll see. That's kind of the idea of the next gen car. We'll see. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But we got a lot to get through between now and then. But we got a lot to get through between now and then, and many races to cover. But let's keep going here. I'm loving these comments. I love interacting with our viewers. Unlike most of the internet world, I feel like we have some of the most insightful viewers and make some of the best comments here. So unlike the rest of the internet world, but that's one of my favorite parts is what else you got for us in the news category?
All right, news story number 2. Last week we talked about how there were rumors spreading around the next gen car, going along with Steve Thorpe's comment right there about the next gen car. There were rumors swirling around that the next gen car had failed its crash test, and that they were going to be delayed. NASCAR quickly shut that down, especially with Scott Miller saying that no, they are complete fabrications. They are not true. That's fake news. However, news came out this week that that the full report has come back. NASCAR is satisfied with that report and has already began distributing out some of those new chassis. So I haven't really seen the report. I think that's going to be classified for a while, but I really think that the next gen is going to be okay. I mean, I kind of think that I really don't know. To be honest, I really don't know. I guess only time will tell to see if those rumors were true or not, and whether or not NASCAR is kind of just saying, no, they're fine. Nope, they're fine. Shut up. We're going to go along with it. But I really don't know. Tom, what do you think?
And maybe I'm wrong here because I've got a big history of being wrong on a lot of things, but I'm not concerned about this. This is, call it the end of July. The next gen car won't hit the track until February at Daytona. I really think that whatever NASCAR may get wrong with the next gen car, they're going to get the safety right. I just think that has been such a focus. There's been so much attention on it, and they have made such huge strides in the last, 10, 15, 20 years on safety that even if there is a problem now, I believe that NASCAR is going to get it right by February. So I'm not concerned about the safety aspect. Even if it's not safe now, I'm convinced that they will have it safe by the time it gets there in February. So I kind of view this as not that big a deal because they got 6 months. You can add a lot as far as safety improvements in a 6-month time period. So I think they're going to get the safety aspect of it right. I'm putting as much as I've been critical of some of the officiating NASCAR's done, I think from the safety aspect, they get it right. So I'm not real concerned about this one.
All righty, good to know. And moving on, speaking of Scott Miller, third and final news topic of the night, Scott Miller on the New Hampshire darkness call. He said, quote, I don't think it got any of us, that is getting dark. You don't say.
I am glad to see that they are astute enough that they can tell when it's getting dark.
You see, here's the thing. They can tell when it's getting dark out, but yet they can't tell that's raining on the fucking racetrack.
Yeah.
That's what was in mind.
A couple of things about this is I think that with the cameras that the television networks have, they can whatever you want to say, filter it or adjust the lighting so that we can see it well. Okay. That doesn't show how truly dark it is there. Okay. And I think that NASCAR made a mistake at the beginning of the race by not erring on the side of caution and starting it in the rain. I don't think that they were going to do that at the end of the race. So I think they made the right call for the darkness. And I know it was just a few laps and everything and just a few more minutes and they could have had the whole race and everything. But I think NASCAR was put in a position of saying, man, we may look foolish for starting the race in the rain and not erring on the side of caution. We're not going to look foolish twice by letting it go past the point of being safe when it's getting dark. So I think they kind of said, we're going to err on the side of caution and end it. And I think it was the right call there.
I do too. I think it was the correct call. Kind of looking at the car cams on the NASCAR, I guess like the NASCAR view finder or something like the NASCAR view. Looking at the car cameras, they looked a lot darker than it was on TV. So I think they did get the right call. But I kind of want to add a little something on here. Do you think it's time that New Hampshire actually went out and got some lights for the track? Since they keep starting it so late, or does NASCAR need to kind of bump the race up a little bit, just so in case it does have a rain delay like that in the future, they have a lot more time to get it to kind of just deal with the rain.
I don't think they're going to go with an earlier start. I think it's much more likely that they add lights. I think the magic behind these 3 and 3:30 starts is that gives the networks a chance to have the races end right about the time the prime time programming starts. So they can attract the big audience from the NASCAR race, and then they hope they stick around for all the prime time shows that follow. That was the original reason you saw these 3 o'clock starts, is when NASCAR was at its peak of popularity. They would like to attract that audience and then have him there already tuned into that channel when the prime time stuff started. I think some of that still holds true. So I don't think they're going to move the start. I think it's more likely that they add lights. That's a big expenditure. So we'll have to see. I think that it wouldn't be a bad idea to even have a night race at New Hampshire at some point. It would add some more excitement to the track and add a different element to it. So I think it's more likely that they add lights. But Simone's, what do you think? You think they start earlier or they add lights?
I mean, honestly, for me personally, I would love if they add lights, because I can just see it right now. A nighttime race in New Hampshire, it would feel like a local like flat track, short track race to me. And I think that would bring in a lot more people, make the race even more exciting than what it already was Sunday. I mean, honestly, throughout Sunday, I was watching this race and I was thinking, man, I'm having a Tom thing right now. Tom was saying that Pocono was boring, couldn't get anybody there, but daggone, that race was so good. You had everything. You had fantastic fights for the lead. You had strategy calls to sue those guys. You had NASCAR screw up. It had everything.
Yeah, it was a great race. Dylan Smith saying lights are expensive. They are absolutely expensive.
They are.
So that is the big drawback. But I also think that, I'm not in the Northeast, but it just seems like in general, in the summertime, you always have a chance of thunderstorms. It seems like where I live, there's always a 20% chance of rain because you never know when there's going to be a pop-up thunderstorm. So I think that New Hampshire is, actually most of the United States is probably kind of under that same type of weather scenario in July. It is expensive. Whether it would be worth it or not, I don't know, but it's very interesting to consider. And of course, I think it's a great idea because I don't have to foot the bill. It's not coming out of my pocket.
I mean, hey, yeah, absolutely. As long as that money is not coming out of my pockets, I'm with it.
Yeah, I absolutely have no problem spending other people's money. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right, let's move on to who's hot and who's not. And I'm going to let you go first this week with your picks of who's hot and who is not.
Alrighty, who's hot this week? Originally I put down Toyota because it seems like over the last few weeks, Toyota has been gaining a lot more momentum over the last, I guess 2-3 months than they have since the season began. But if I'm going down for just this week, I'm going to say Ford, just a Ford game in general, because they all of a sudden they have found a lot more speed this week than they have pretty much the rest of the season, maybe besides Nashville. And Tom, I saw that. I see that, Tom. All right.
Love you, Stevie Throop. Thank you. Couldn't agree more.
I mean, Tom, yeah, Steve, I would agree there. But yeah, honestly, I'm kind of surprised the camera hasn't shattered on my face at this point. But yeah, I'll say either the Toyota or the Ford camp is really hot. And who's hot and who's not right now? Tom, I'm sorry, I'm gonna steal yours right now. I saw what you had on this thing, and I had to go with it. So I'm sorry, but NASCAR officiating over the last 2 weeks has been close to god awful. And let's hope next week they can get through one race without it screwing up.
Let's hope.
Let's hope.
Let's hope they get through a weekend. Okay.
A weekend, all right.
Like last weekend, it was the Truck Series. This weekend, it was the Cup Series. So let's hope that they can get through.
Actually, hold on. They will get through a weekend without it because there are no races this weekend.
That's true. That's true.
So hey, NASCAR, guess what? You made it through a weekend without screwing things up. Hopefully.
Hopefully. Okay, all right, so I am going to go with who's hot is Christopher Bell, okay? Christopher Bell has been on a tear, okay? This is his third straight win at New Hampshire, but he has also had finishes in the last 3 Cup races of 2nd, 8th, and 2nd. So this is a guy who, it takes some time to get adjusted to the Cup cars. It's not just that the cars are harder to drive. You've stepped up in the level of competition. So Christopher Bell, and with no practice, you would expect it would take the rookies from last year a little while to kind of get their feet under them and really show what they can do. Christopher Bell is there. He is on fire right now. He is the first of that class of 2020 rookies for me to really elevate their game. I know New Hampshire is a great track for him, so not a surprise, I guess, that he would run well there. But stacking up a 2nd, an 8th, and a 2nd is pretty good. So I'm going to say that Christopher Bell is on the who's hot side. Okay, since you stole my who is not right now, I'm going to go this, and you got to grade this on the curve when I say who's not. Okay, who's not right now? Hendrick Motorsports came into New Hampshire with no drivers, averaging a top 10 finish. So New Hampshire, not their track, came out of it with the highest finishing Hendrick driver being Kyle Larson with a 7th place finish, although they did have him and Alex Bowman both in the top 10. I think you got to grade those on the curve considering the trouble that Hamlin, Truex, and Busch all had at the start of it. So I think you got to say that there were 3 pretty strong contenders helped them get into the back half of the top 10. But I'm going to say at least at New Hampshire, Hendrick Motorsports is in the who's not category. And yeah, we're going to have to find something to talk about for 2 weeks. Unless they start racing cars in the Olympics, we're going to be struggling to find some things to talk about here for the next couple of weeks. So
that is true. So I mean, who knows? NASCAR may screw up again next week. Who knows?
They might. Who
knows?
Yeah. So before we get off of this and move on to the green flag, red flag, I want to make a comment about New Hampshire. Okay. Now I know that we had some contenders knocked out early, but remember New Hampshire. You know the old saying, remember the Alamo? Well, when it comes time to decide the championship in Phoenix, remember New Hampshire. And here is why. Not only is Phoenix going to have the same downforce and the same horsepower package that was in place at New Hampshire, it's also going to have the exact same tire that was used at New Hampshire. So when we talk about thinking that we may go to Phoenix and there may be multiple Hendrick drivers eligible for the championship. They may have, maybe 2 or even 3 guys there in the final 4. Keep in mind, that may not be the best track for them to have the championship at, because it's the exact same package and tire that you're having at New Hampshire, and they didn't run well there. So, little tidbit of information. When it comes time for Phoenix, remember New Hampshire. So, all right. So, next we have green flag, red flag, and I am going to let you host that segment for us. So, take it away, Aaron.
Alrighty. Green flag, red flag question number 1. NASCAR should have let backup cars be used by drivers who wrecked during the rain at New Hampshire. Tom, green flag or red flag? Green flag says yes. Green flag says no.
I'm going to say green flag. I think that, I know that's not part of the rules. I think that was only, the last time they did that was like pre-2000 maybe in an all-star race. But I really feel like they screwed up there. I feel like that was totally on them. It wasn't on the drivers. It wasn't on the teams. And they should have made some effort to try to fix it and give these guys a chance to bring the backup cars out. I know that creates all kinds of issues. I mean, I was told that maybe some of the backup cars didn't even have engines in them, but you're going to be faced with almost a 2-hour rain delay anyway. I felt like that, it was a terrible call by NASCAR, and they had a chance to mitigate some of the damage from that call by letting them bring out backup cars. I felt like they should have done it. I know that opens up a whole can of worms of what other circumstances do you do it, and could they have got them ready and through tech inspection and everything. I felt like that especially with the rain delay that they had there, that they should have let those guys bring out the backup cars. I'm saying green flag all the way.
Okay, and I will also green flag here. I mean, it wasn't the driver's fault that they wrecked going into turn 1. I mean, all of them have said that the track was wet. NASCAR should have stopped the race right there and let the rain come down and let the jet drivers do their thing. And however, I will say that might have caused some more issues like that. I mean, the backup cars are going to take a lot more time. I mean, teams that will have to bring backup cars out may do some unimproved adjustments on there. So tech inspection may get a little more tricky as it is. And that may have ended up taking longer, but that would have been the right call. That would have been the correct call. And so I'll say green flag for question number 1.
Okay, now we may be showing our ignorance here with this. I am not sure, Simoleons. I've got 2 different people, both Dylan Smith and Stevie Throop, saying they didn't even have backup cars there. I did not know that. So I may be wrong because Dylan is saying if there is no practice, there's no reason to be bringing backup cars. So this may be kind of more a hypothetical discussion of if backup cars were there. Once again, we have intelligent, well-educated, insightful viewers that in this case apparently know more than we do, because we got 2 different viewers saying the exact same thing. So maybe this is more of a hypothetical type thing. And Dylan Smith explains the logic to us. So why didn't we say that is a good point. Practice and no qualifying, there's no reason to have a backup car. So
that's a fair point.
Yeah, so fair point. I think it's a hypothetical. Let's call it a hypothetical discussion. Hypothetically, I think they should have if they were there.
Yeah. Under normal circumstances, if they do have backup cars, they should have brought them out.
Yeah. So interesting that once again. Now, see, if we had the typical internet viewer who doesn't know anything, we could have got away with that one. But no, not us. We've got the educated, insightful, knowledgeable viewers calling us out on our mistakes.
Way to go, guys. You ruined it for us.
Yeah. This is going on the blooper reel for sure.
Well,
all right, let's quickly move on. Get that in the past. All
right, green flag, red flag question number 2. NASCAR made the right call to end the race early at New Hampshire due to darkness. I'm going to go ahead and take this one, Tom. I'm going to say green flag. I mean, you can handle rain, you can handle about any kind of things, but you cannot handle darkness, especially when the track doesn't have any lights or the cars don't have any lights themselves. And so I will say they didn't have a choice but to call the race early. It was already past the halfway point anyway when the darkness was starting to fall in. So I would say go ahead and say green flag with that one.
Yeah, I agree. And I think they were erring on the side of caution, which is what they should have done at the start. And I think at the start of the race, when they were doing the interviews during the rain delay, Ryan Blaney used the phrase err on the side of caution. And I think that's what they did at the end. So I think that's definitely a green flag one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I will say I remember seeing a football game once where it was a night game and there was a problem with the lights at the stadium, and then it took a while for the lights, even when the lights turned back on, it took them a while to get to their full brightness, and they were showing it on TV using the, I'll call it filters or effects or whatever they could do to lighten it, and it looked really good. But then when they came back from a commercial break, they're like, folks, we're going to show you what it's really like. And they took away the filters, and it was like, oh my gosh, how can these guys even see to play? And I think that's part of what people were a little upset about in the New Hampshire race with it ending, is because the cameras were giving us a great picture. They were using their technology to lighten it as much as they could to make it a good view for us. And that's probably where some of the criticism came from. But I think that's a green flag to me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and it is a shame that our buddy Zach is not here to answer green flag, red flag question number 3, because this directly affects him. And it is a news story that, unfortunately, we did not get to talk about. The other shakeup in the free agent market this week, Harrison Burton has signed a deal with Wood Brothers, kicking out Matt DiBenedetto. And so the question is right now, Harrison Burton is an upgrade for the Wood Brothers over Matt DiBenedetto at this time. Green flag or red flag, Tom?
I'm going to say red flag. Matt DiBenedetto has proved he can be competitive in what could be called subpar equipment at just about any type of track. He's ran well at restrictor plates. He's ran well at short tracks like Bristol. He nearly won at Las Vegas. He led several laps at Road America. I think at this point in their careers, he is a better driver than Harrison Burton, who really has no cup experience at all. Now, the flip side of this is, if you were going to grab Harrison Burton and you're going to have him for the next 10 years, I think then you could say Harrison Burton has more potential and may ultimately be a better driver. But let's face it, Harrison Burton, if he does well, is not going to be with the Wood Brothers for 10 years. This is a stepping stone for him. He'll be there for a season or two. When he establishes what he can do, he's going to go from being on a satellite team to being on a top tier team. And he's going to move up to drive one of the Penske cars or one of the Gibbs cars or a Hendrick car or whatever. So I understand the Wood Brothers said they wanted to go with a youth movement and get a younger driver, but the problem is I don't see Harrison Burton being with them long term. Harrison Burton in his prime is not going to be driving the 21, so I don't think it was a good move.
I completely agree. That's a red flag for me also. I mean, Matt DiBenedetto has shown that he has the will to drive this race car, and he has the drive to win races and be competitive with this team. Unfortunately, from what I've seen in the Xfinity Series and what I've seen with Harrison Burton, he's just not ready yet. I mean, I really don't think so. I mean, of course, you see Austin Cindric. You know, in comparison to with Austin Cindric, Cindric's out there winning races. He's dominating races. He's leading laps. Where's Harrison Burton? I mean, yeah, he's kind of up there, but is it really with him or is it with the team? I mean, Cindric has shown that he is able to win in a fourth car with Penske that's just kind of built. And he's able to run with him. But I really don't think Burton is ready yet for a Cup driver. And if Matt DiBenedetto had a ride in place that he can go to after Wood Brothers, then I would say, okay, that's fine. But just to kick out Matt DiBenedetto for a younger driver that's not really proven yet, that's just kind of a gut punch. And I would say that's a red flag.
Okay, so let's talk about he basically, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 54 is a Gibbs Toyota, right, in the Xfinity Series. So, right. Here he is. Austin Cindric was fourth. Harrison Burton was fifth. Christopher Bell was first. He didn't have a bad run there, top five. But I I agree. I think he's still a little green. I think maybe he's a little too eager to get into Cup, and he jumped at an opportunity just to race Cup, even though it may not be the top team. I think it's maybe a little bit of a mistake for career perspective on his part. But at this point, I got to think that I think Matt DiBenedetto is a better driver.
I would agree. At this point in time, Matty D is a better driver.
Yeah.
But
now, Stevie Through brings up a good point. Now is the time to go to Cup, even if you're not ready because of the new car. So maybe the chance to get experience in that new car it outweighs it, and maybe the fact that it's supposed to be a great equalizer, it's not going to be as much of a detriment as we think going to a satellite team. Again, we will see. But the original question right now, I think DiBenedetto, he can run circles around Harrison Burton at this point in their careers.
I would agree. I mean, right now everyone starts with an equal playing foot, but again, I think experience trumps everything. I think you have the experience to kind of know how these cars are going to work and kind of know the track. It's going to pay off dividends for you. So I don't know about this move.
Yeah, I'm not
sold on it.
I'm not sold on it either, and I think they have downgraded drivers at this point in their two careers. I think Harrison Burton in his prime may be a better driver, but he's not in his prime right now.
Not now.
All right, let's keep rolling.
I mean, hey, who knows? Harrison Burton may come out 21 car and win the championship by winning 10 races. Who knows? Who knows?
It could happen. It could happen. It wouldn't be the first time you and I have made the wrong call and looked foolish, but you know.
No, won't be first, certainly won't be the last. All right, moving on to number 4. Eric Almirola's win in New Hampshire saved his job at Stewart-Haas Racing. Without the win, Stewart-Haas Racing would not have renewed his contract for next year. Green flag or red flag? As much as I like Eric Almirola, he's a good personality. He's a good driver. I'm going to say red flag. I think he's still up at the end of the year. I mean, I think that he has shown the drive to win, but I don't think he can do it in this equipment right now. I mean, he's had all year, and he's been in that 10 car for how long? Just a few years, like maybe 4 or 5 years.
A while, yeah.
And he's been there a while, and he's only gotten 2 wins.
I think this is win 3, but weren't the other 2 wins like rain shortened or something?
Actually, no. One was with the 43 car at Richard Petty Motorsports, where he won a rain shortened Daytona. The other one he actually won outright at Talladega.
Okay.
If I'm remembering correctly.
Okay. So you think he is out at Stewart-Haas Racing? I
think he's out. I mean, yeah, he's had some good runs, but he's just not. I mean, Stewart-Haas Racing is a top tier team. Yeah, they're having a down year right now, but every team goes through that. And I kind of think Stewart-Haas is kind of waiting for the new car to come along so they can just rebound and kick everybody's butt again. But yeah, right now I think Eric's out.
See, I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to say that win saved his job. I think that Stewart-Haas has had a bleak year, and when he showed that he can essentially outdrive his equipment there, I think it showed something that he's been able to do something that even some of the superstars like Kevin Harvick haven't been able to do this year. I think that saved his job, or cemented it at least. I also think you got to look at it and say, if Almirola is out, who are you going to bring in to replace him? Who is out there? And there's not a lot of free agents out there that I think would be a significant upgrade. I don't think anybody. Well, I think Kurt Busch is potentially one, but there's so many rumors about Trackhouse Racing and 23XI. For all we know, Kurt may be off the market, and we don't even know it yet. And I think the next free agent is probably DiBenedetto. And he really hasn't proven to me, he hasn't proven any more than Almirola has. So I think that win got him another year at Stewart-Haas, especially considering that nobody else at Stewart-Haas has done a whole lot. So I think that did save his job for another year. We'll see. But I think it did because I think that's the lone bright spot. So I think it saved his job.
All right, only time will tell. And right now, that brings us to the preview next week's race. And since there isn't a race next week, I guess we'll just move to the white flag.
Yeah, so no races for 2 weeks. So I am curious as to what we're going to see coming out of this 2-week break. I think the 2-week break benefits probably the smaller teams more than the bigger teams, because if you have fewer personnel and you're scrambling to keep up by building cars week after week after week, getting a 2-week break gets you a little bit of chance to get caught up. I expect some of the smaller teams to come out of this pretty strong at the end of the break and maybe surprise us a little bit. But I also think, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm going to look this up, are we going back-to-back on road courses here? I got my NASCAR app up. Let me check the schedule here, but aren't we going back-to-back on road courses here?
I believe we are, because we go to Watkins Glen.
And then the Indy Roval. So I think that, right now, the Chase Elliott's and the Kyle Larsons of the world have got their timer set for these 2 weeks saying, let's get it on. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to say, I think this break also benefits Stewart-Haas a little bit too. I mean, they just got their first win of the season, probably their only bright spot of the season. And now they have 2 weeks to kind of just figure out their car, figure out kind of where they want to go, and kind of keep that fire going. But I think it'll benefit them a little bit more. I think it'll really benefit them.
Okay. All right. Check this out from Dylan Smith. All right, Dylan. This is going to be on YouTube forever and ever. There's your comment. We can go back and pull this up. November, you're either gonna look like a genius, or you're gonna be sitting on the struggle bus with Simoleons and I. But right there it is. We're showing your comment on the air. Dylan, I'm not betting against you, buddy.
Okay.
I have proven to be, you look at Punxsutawney Phil and Groundhog Day, he's only got a 50-50 shot at being right. And he doesn't get it even 50% of the time. I'm even worse than him at predictions, so I'm not doing it. But Dylan, give me another comment here. Just so there's no wiggle room here. Are we talking the championship this year, right now, 2021? Or is this just like you're saying you're going to say, well, I didn't say this year. I just said he's going to win a championship. Are you putting all your chips in the table for this year, Dylan?
I want to see a year. Dylan. I want to see a year.
So we'll wait and see if Dylan is still with us and can respond here. Oh, there we go. There we go. 2021.
All right, fans.
All right, Dylan. We got you here.
Going to happen.
You can either be on the struggle bus with Simoleons and I, or you can take us to Vegas so we can lay some money on these picks. So, but no, I think that we're getting some of these road courses coming up. I think that's right in the wheelhouse of Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson. So I expect them to do well. I also expect some of the smaller teams to do well. But I'm going to miss NASCAR for a couple of weeks.
I know.
I'm going to miss NASCAR for a couple of weeks.
Races on Sundays. I'm thinking, now what?
Yeah, and I'm kind of wishing that Tony Stewart's SRX series was timed a little differently so he could fill the void for us a little bit.
Oh, dadgummit, man.
Yeah. So all right, we are down to the white flag. So what are your parting thoughts on this week, Simoleons?
All right, parting thoughts. If you look at the schedule right now, we got 4 more races until the start of the chase. And ladies and gentlemen, right now, the point standings are insane. Right now, we only have 3 drivers that are in the chase as of right now that does not have a win. And those are Denny Hamlin, Harvick, and Reddick. And I think one of those guys is going to be able to get a win. We've already saw 2 guys that had to get a win to be in the chase, Busch and Almirola, and they've got it. And so I really kind of think, besides Indy Roval and besides, I think, Watkins Glen, I think those are going to be Elliott and Larson territory. I mean, we've got, let's see if I can get back to the schedule here.
Michigan
and Daytona. Michigan, I think, is going to be Larson too. Daytona, who knows? Daytona, I think maybe one of the RCR guys that gets it.
Well, I got to say, it's got to be pretty tense over at the RCR camp. That's going to be my parting comment, because if you look at it from a point standpoint, Harvick and Hamlin I think are there. Okay, as long as somebody doesn't bump them out on wins, they are there. But you're looking at Dillon and Reddick, and probably one of them's going to make it, one of them isn't. They're both in that RCR camp, and Dillon, of course, is Richard Childress's grandson. Just to add some drama to the plot, you've got the grandson of the owner here and the second-year driver. Right now, I got to give the edge to Reddick. I think Reddick is showing that development you expect from a guy who's in his second year. I think that he's going to be the guy to do it. I think he's going to edge out Dillon. I think Childress sees the writing on the wall and understands that ultimately Reddick's probably a more talented driver. But my parting shot was going to be, these last 4 races are going to be very tense in the Richard Childress camp, because I think one of them makes it and one of them doesn't. And I'm not going to be as bold as Dillon and say Almirola wins the championship. I'm not going to be so bold and say that bet on it, it's going to be Reddick. But I got to say that I think Reddick is the favorite to make it right now, and Dillon's going to be out.
I completely agree. Reddick has shown a lot more speed over the course of the season than Dillon. But then again, Dillon I think is better a plate driver than Reddick is right now. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, Stevie Throop says Childress is going to sabotage Reddick's car.
I would not be surprised. Would not be surprised at all.
Yeah. I got a question here from Boss Jones. Trucks and Xfinity, no, they are not in action until August 7th. So no trucks, no Xfinity. So my final parting thought would be, none of the NASCAR series are going on. Go out and support your local tracks. Go to a local paved track. Go to a local dirt track. Support your local tracks. One of my big complaints with the way NASCAR has done things is they have chased the money so much that they have moved so many races to night races and Saturday night races, because that's primetime viewers and they can get better TV ratings and attract more sponsorship. But the lifeline of NASCAR is all these guys coming up from local tracks, and that is taking viewers and seats away from people at your local dirt tracks and local asphalt tracks. So please, everybody, get out, support your local tracks these next couple of weeks, since there's no NASCAR on there. So go support them. So Absolutely. That's my final comment.
Absolutely. And actually, on a side note, one of the towns that is close to me is supposed to be getting a new track built. And so
you aren't seeing very many new local tracks being built. So that is awesome.
No, you don't. And I'm kind of excited to kind of see the development of that. And I'll be there opening week.
That is great. We actually, here where I'm at, we had a local track that was had been closed for years, had got reopened this year. So that was another good sign. So as much as it seems like NASCAR and their Saturday night races has hurt the local tracks, we're at least seeing a little bit of a resurgence in your area and mine, which I think is great. So
absolutely.
So, all right, with that, we thank you guys all for tuning in. Thank you guys for the comments, even the ones that made us look foolish, which don't brag too much. Don't brag too much. It doesn't take a whole lot to make simoleons or I look foolish. Not one of your great accomplishments, but we do appreciate you setting us straight. And thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for the comments. And we will catch you guys next week. And we are out of here.
Take care, guys.